the entire cast, the director, Mr. Enrique Olvizo, José Coronazo, Rodolfo Sancho, Elena Miquel, and Juan Cuartero. And we also have the producers, Gonzalo Salazar Simpson and Álvaro Agustín. So therefore, what they are awaiting now is your first question. So the first question there in the middle, right on the right, just in the center there, better said. Very sorry, without a microphone we can't translate. Another microphone, please. Could somebody give him another microphone, please?
Hola, sí.
Hi, I was saying congratulations for the intense and a tremendous film that we've just seen, and I've got a couple of questions for Enrique Olvizo. The first one, I would like to know, the first time that you talked to José Coronado about this character you had to portray, how did you describe him? Because it's incredible, the character, and the last scene, it's quite curious how it was empty. The shopping mall was empty, and then the cinema was empty, and then the movement of the children's area where the roundabout was. Thank you very much. I described him as the worst type of character possible. That's what I said to him. It was a character who was absolutely worn out and no self-esteem, no reason to continue ahead, a lot of pain inside, and a bit anchored in 2 decades in his past with his own aesthetics when he was another age, when he was younger. And then as the script started to develop, we had a fluid contact. Jose has been in the project from the beginning. He was informed of what was going on, and then the idea was to do the contrary of our previous works, where the characters have a lot of self-control in the box and life marks, and this character has no control on his life. We wanted to do it back to front, and Jose can probably explain it much better than I can. At the end of the film, this is a film that has a certain vocation of causing a lot of anguish in the audience. A certain general insecurity is what is transmitted, the social uncertainty that takes place there. And it was of fundamental importance that the threat was still continued at the end of the film, and those abstract shots, which are an epilogue of what takes place throughout the beginning of the film, has a greater or lesser optimistic tone to it. And it seemed to me that the future, the metaphor of the kids or the children, so to speak, in the last scenes, should be the final. You're expecting, you're waiting, and what has to happen doesn't happen. And I think that it contributes to that feeling of the threat continues at the end of the day. That is to say, we've saved the world, but just for a little time. Hi, good morning. Artur Encinas. I have a couple of questions. One's for Enrique Olvizo, another one for José Coronado. Congratulations, and thank you very much for the film. We've talked about that social threat in those last few scenes, and it's also the anniversary of the 11th of March attack in Madrid. We saw the 4 towers of Madrid in the background in Madrid. It seems that the urban landscape, I don't want to say too much, but it gives us certain guidelines as regards to what the end of the film is aiming at. On the one hand, I would like to ask you, Enrique, whether you think there's a solution vis-a-vis this, or whether it's a real problem or not. And to Jose, it seems that you feel comfortable in the role of the hero of the 40-year-old hero, and a guy that got lost, and all of a sudden you're in despair. But nevertheless, there's a possibility of seeking redemption in your film. I don't know, what do you believe is most valuable in this character, and do you believe in the situation that we're in, it can contribute something to cinema? Thank you. Well, the film goes through landscapes that subtly talk to the collective memory of the attack on the 11th of September in New York. You see the new towers in Madrid, obviously, and and the facts that take place to the 11th of March. This isn't a film about the 11th of March. It is a film that reflects, or it wants you to ask about how is it possible, what falls to pieces, what are we doing wrong at the end of the day, why is it possible that that can happen? And in that sense, the film goes through, and I insist, practically subliminally, without even announcing it, but practically in a majority of the landscapes of the bombs of Madril's Morata de Tajuña is the place where they set up the bombs and where they're set up by our characters. Atocha, the train station, the commuter trains, the Southern Station, the Tribulete Street, the center of Madrid, the mosque, the football team of the Moroccan football players. We wanted to use all of this to create fiction which is not at all the recreation of that horrible attack. But the why and whereabouts and what fails in the system was our intention to form the core of the main crux of the film. Santos Trinidad can't find redemption. These types of characters can't. The title of the film, there's no peace for the wicked, there's no possible redemption. So therefore, when we were preparing it, we're 4 years beforehand, so therefore we had a lot of time to talk and discuss about all of this. The actor always wants to find redemption, and I thought this is a good way to find redemption. And the truth is, he told me that that's not what we're trying to tell. In any case, you're talking about, there is a reflection in the film of the chaotic world that we live in, of how the failures or the indecency of any civil servant might make bombs explode. But I don't think this should even be told. I think the film should be seen as a thriller that has never been made so far in Spain up until now. It's a thriller which is absolutely modern, in which it's pure muscle, there's no fat, it's very lean, and the American films are much more clearer, and then for special effects and action takes a lot of place. But here, Enrique respects the intelligence of the audience and invites the audience to accompany Santos Trinidad throughout his journey. And then he's going to find things that are much more important or larger. But the film shouldn't come through to that. Well, there's a complex plot, but to see the police, the good cops that are working on the dark side, ones on the one hand and the other hand, for example, I think this maintains the audiences, entertains the audience for a long time, and it shows how a failure of any civil servant can derive into something more malicious. I think it's a pure thriller, and it has all the ingredients that a thriller requires, and whoever saw Box 507, Box 507 is kid stuff compared to this film, No Habrá Paz para los Malvados. Before the following question, please, I ask you, as the film has not been premiered and it is a thriller, please let's not talk about the end of the film too much. The end of the film in the thriller is the most important. If we tell it now, what is the audience going to think if they haven't seen it beforehand, okay? In the back there. First of all, Albizu, I like the film very much. The truth, and congratulations. The film is to Mr. Coronado. Congratulations also to you. The truth is that the question is that role between being a villain and a hero almost. Did you have to train? Did you have to research a quote-unquote dirty type of cop, but in the same time he's a hero at the end of the day? And the second question would be, how do you work in tandem with Urquijo that he draws the best juice out of you? And the truth is said, and allows you to portray great. Congratulations, very kind of you. Thank you. Well, I've 25 years in my profession. I've portrayed a lot of cop characters, and not only that, I've been with them, and I've been in questionings, in all types of raids, and so on and so forth, in which the police work, and it is a profession that I know more or less. But the truth is, I encountered this monster. If he controls things 10 times more than me. And it was easy. We had 4 years to prepare this character, and I realized that when I read the first version of the script, or the first draft that Michel Enrique did, I knew there was a great film and the story that was being told, which was quite fascinating. And my character was a classic character that any actor dreams of, to go against the current of what is expected of you to portray. And that's where we started to work. It's a character that I've constructed during 4 years, and that's a luxury nowadays. And we were just wishing for 2 or 3 months prior to the beginning of the shooting of the film to really get involved and to portray the character of Santos and to see how this guy who's finished off and has gone to the dark side and who hates himself, he's a villain who there's no hero in him at all. He's a guy that was a good cop in the past, but as he was involved in a triple murder and he had to find and had to hunt for a witness, has to get into gear and do his work, and he knew how to do his work quite well, but in no way he's a hero. He's just at the end of his string, and if he wanted to save his life, and he could end up saving the world in this case, metaphorically, but he's not a hero at all. I think he's a character who's quite complex and complicated because he has to, when he expresses everything with looks and silences, there's not too much to talk about. He starts the film drunk and he's on the verge of falling to pieces, but with Enrique, as you said, he knows me very well, and I know that Enrique, he's a half German, half from Bilbao, and he knows that his actors and actresses always come out good. So I could jump in the deep end with him, whatever, or jump over a cliff if he asked me to, and that's the result that you see in the film. Please don't take photos with a flash if you'd be so kind. In the front line, yes, please. Good morning. The film is typically a Spanish argument. I liked the inspector, the judge, the DA, which is typically Spanish. And I was listening to the director of the festival, Mr. Rebordinos, and the festival, amongst other things, has brought films, genre films, well treated. And I thought that the film, and I want the director to tell me this, is a type of tribute to the North American thrillers. And I know the 11th of March bombings are there, but the style was very Yankee, very Hollywood type of the cop who's worn out, but at the end of the day solves the issue and I would also like to ask the leading actor, who's portrayed an excellent role, by the way, whether you copied or you looked at any type of you winked at some of the Hollywood actors that portrayed these types of roles. First of all, my hard drive, my brain, well, I'm going to turn 49 this year, so therefore one is not here to pay tributes at the end of the day. That's what I would say. And then my brain is full of cinema, obviously, and movies. I don't think it's honest well, what you see on the screen has to be what the story you tell. I've never done this. You do this type of things when you learn, you try to imitate things, but I think the reality of the country in every sense in the last few years allows you to perfectly work with characters, extreme characters such as Jose Coronado, without that being a reference of any kind of character that you've seen in American films in the past. And talking about influences, the truth is, we could talk about American thriller in this case, but it would be very painful to leave to one side the political, social Italian films of the 1960s or the European thrillers. That wasn't my idea. And as I was saying, I've got a more open vision vis-a-vis influences, and I don't like to imitate or to carry out any imitating exercises. If the film is trying to tell a story about how it's possible, and we address those questions in the film that have to do with the here and now and the Spain in 2011, the film has to emerge from there, and not what films that whoever has made in the past. The director has to use cinematographic language, and that's what I work in, and I feel Basque, Spanish, American director, and when I see Ofuwa, I feel Japanese at the same time. So therefore, that's not made in that sense. Obviously, Santos Trinidad has an archetype, a genre film type character, but this is a genre type film. We like the genre. They're also Western. There's a bit of Western there. There's certain angles of Caramaque son Westerns, and there are physical traits of him as. So therefore, welcome to the movies, but there are also waiters that talk about Anis del Moro, the anisets, and there are a person there's a guy that is a right arsehole, is one of the characters in the film, and these people are direct from Madrid. You see them in the street. So therefore, I don't know. I think I've answered your question. And from what he's answered, well, I think it was the story deserved a character that was absolutely ours. There's no reference. I don't want to copy anything. We've been able to see a lot of genre films, Clint Eastwood and John Wayne and Lee Marvin in certain. They can give us certain references for a specific scene, but the character is absolutely new, and I'm not trying to imitate, or at least that's what I've tried to do. In Spain, there are police, there are trained police for special operations, for dangerous operations, so therefore special forces, that is to say. So it's another thing that the cinema in a majority of the cases that we consume in the majority of the cases allows you, but there are guys that get up in the morning to train, that handle explosives, that hang off helicopters and save lives occasionally now and again. And so not of the collectives that the highest level of failure and the highest amount of marriage divorces, and these are normally the armed forces. It's a profession which has a lot of tension. It's quite frequent. Have a failure in effective relations, and there are a lot of separations of the people who work in these forces, and there are a lot of men and women who are on their own due to a especially difficult job and profession that they carried out. And that's what you've got to work with when you work with your character. Bruce Willis, for example, is at home. He's not here in this film, by the way. You know what I'm saying? Hi, good morning. The film is saved mainly by the actors. The judge, Elena, Juanjo is magnificent, and Jose is saved by the actors, by the way. But there's something that I'm suspect about, and I wanted to honestly, and I don't want to be malevolent. The shots of the mobile phones means that the Arabs or the terrorists prepare the mobile phones for the explosions. It's not too clear whether it's always the terrorist Arabs who prepared the mobile phones. I say this because I'm under the impression who comes out after seeing the film saying, well, look, they also used mobile phones or not. That's a question. If you'll allow me, you've hit the nail on the head, because the guy that prepares the mobiles is the only character in the Islamic cell who speaks Spanish. He comes from Granada, and he looks German, and that was done on purpose, that is to say. And it's inspired in real facts. The guy that prepares the bombs is not only leaves at the end of the day and doesn't get hurt. I'm not trying to spoil this, but he's not Arab, and that's precisely the guy that prepares the bomb. So therefore you're going to have to go and see that scene again, okay? Thank you. I'm sorry we can't hear him without a microphone. Okay, I'll have to go and see it again. Thank you very much. Hi, good morning. Over here, Jose Coronado has just told us that he would jump over a cliff when Urbizu directs you. The rest of the actors, especially Yanela Miguel, who's the first time in cinema has a leading role, whether you would jump over the edge of a cliff when Urbizu said so. Thank you. Well, I've jumped over a cliff, especially in this case, for accepting this role that was a big challenge for me, and I think that for Enrique as well. Both of us jumped in the deep end of the swimming pool, but that also formed part of the motivation and the excitement of portraying this role, and especially I jumped into the deep end with Enrique because things are very clear in his mind, and with very few words he knows exactly how to tell you what he wants, and that's of fundamental importance. And for me, it helped me a lot in order to portray this role, to work with someone who has it so clear in his mind is easy. Perhaps in another situation I would have been a bit more lost, but it wasn't the case in this film. So I'm very glad to and pleased to have participated in this project. I enjoyed it a lot. I've discovered another profession as well, and I'm glad to have worked with the entire cast and the entire team. I would jump over the cliff for Enrique. every time he calls in, I will walk up the cliff again and jump over again. And I would also, for Enrique, I would jump over the cliff. Not with him, but he would push me over. I don't mind. Enrique says, tells me to say and I would say okay, whatever. I would take full advantage of jumping over the cliff to say that we producers also jump over the cliff with Enrique. Okay, I'll take your word on that. And when we, the producers, not only the producers, but I say all of those people who have been involved in the film and before the first day of shooting, everyone jumped over the cliff. Telecinco, for example, the TV channel, Matop Films, and we as producers. But not only that, also Canal Plus and also XN and El Dibactes, El Luz, for example, has jumped over the cliff before the first day of shooting just by reading the script and before just seeing Enrique's name. So everyone, so over the cliff, the valley's pretty full of people. Everybody jumps over the cliff into the valley. Hi. A question for Enrique. You were saying that the film is not specifically deal with the 11th of March bombings. I would like to know whether the Spanish cinema looks into the past like the Civil War and very little upon what's happening in the contemporary time. No, I don't think so. I don't think that we look too much in the Civil War. This is a cliche phrase which unfortunately has been successful, but I don't know. I read the list and I don't see so many films that deal with the Spanish Civil War. And, what about the American cinema that talks about war, all its wars? They have a lot of wars. I'm not too sure. Perhaps Spanish cinema doesn't look at the present. Well, what happens is that a lot of films are made which has contemporary traits that haven't been seen or that don't enter the commercial circuit or are seen to or have a good repercussion in the media. The good thing about this film festival is the enormous variety of the films that have been chosen by Mr. Rebordinos and his team for this edition. There are an enormous amount of films that have more than interesting, and they're quite different. There's one that deals with the Civil War, and there's another one with extraterrestrial. There's another one about two guys in a room. There's another one that deals with a guy in Mali. So therefore, and that's what we always talk about when we talk about cinema, but we're doing well, albeit things are difficult, but it makes us stronger. And we talk about the crisis, we talk about the Civil War, this, that, and the other. It's a right pain in the ass to tell you this, but it makes us stronger, it makes us without the need in some cases, or with a need, but we defend ourselves. It's a waste of space, really. It's a waste of time. We're talking about films and screenplays and this, that, and the other. Let's talk about the industry and the industry. We have to talk about this, but at the end of the day, it's a bit hectic, isn't it? Someone asked for the floor back there. Yes? And this is the last question, please. Hi, the question is for Enrique. I want to congratulate you for the film. I thought it was a great film from what I've seen so far. And the question, I'm a young guy, I'm dedicating myself to cinema, and I would like to tell us what recommendations or what trajectory I can follow to make these types of police films, which is the genre I like. Well, start writing and get a camera. You're wasting time. It's easier than, you can start the work. It's going to be difficult, obviously. And the guy that holds up survives. This took me 8 years. I don't know. Do it. Don't stop. And if you persevere, you'll achieve it. If you persevere, you'll achieve it. I don't know about too many directors who are frustrated that at the end of the day have tried it, truly tried it. Making cinema is a condition for those of us that make movies. You make movies from the morning, not only when you shoot a film, when you walk through life and you say, well, okay, there's something here. Oh, well, look at this, or look what appears in the newspaper. Look how I would like to take this shot here. It's a disease almost. It's an illness being a director. If you make films, you're going to make films. You're going to end up making films. End of the day, pick up a camera and start to make films. Simple as that. Yes, I don't know, of course. Why not? Go ahead. Thank you very much.